Okay, on the bench today is a Pioneer PL10. Picked this up off of eBay, even though I had sworn off buying anything from eBay turntable-wise. This one was just at a price that was too good to give up. So pulled the trigger on it. Just pulled it out of the box and am giving it a once over here. I want to talk about what's going on with this turntable. So lid is in pretty good shape. Dust cover's in pretty good shape. The hinges work, which is always a plus on these. So I have done two things to this already. So number one, it did not have a belt. So this was sold as not working, and without a belt, you know, that's it's not going to work. So that was accurate. This counterweight was pushed. Well, basically the assembly here, right, that the counterweight kind of sits on, this was loose, and so was this tone arm bearing kind of pin here that you screw into the side. So I'm not sure what was going on there, but I was able to access the screw, right? It's kind of like sitting right in here. And I was able to tighten this so it's no longer drooping down. And then I was able to tighten this into the bearings. Now I need to adjust that. Right now it feels like it's floating pretty freely. In terms of speed, let me show you what's going on here, which is kind of why I wanted to record this. So we'll show you what's going on with speed. So, and again, when I bought it, they said it wasn't working. These are pretty simple turntables, so I thought, oh, I'll give it a shot. So it's at 29.8, and it is struggling to keep up, right? Well, if I take the platter off, and luckily I had a belt for a PL12, which is the same size. And you couldn't really tell when the platter was spinning, but this spindle is 1,000% locked and frozen into place. It's not moving at all. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to have to remove that. So I'm just going to open. I hear something rattling around underneath. Stella is barking on cue, which is what she likes to do. And I believe this bottom comes off. I've worked on a PL12, a PL15 recently, so they're all just a little bit different. This may not come off. I don't really know. Nope, it's not going to come off. So that's probably glued into position on there. So let me put these back on. And I knew that might happen. So just put these on here real quick. I better use this. That wood's awfully soft. So we'll take a little bit of a detour here, and I'm going to have to pull the top off. And I should have known, it has the two screws that keep everything in position in terms of the top plate into the plinth. It keeps it locked in there. So let's do this. All right. What I'm going to do first, though, is I need to just loosen this a little bit and get this started. And that might be, I think that was turning the whole thing, so I'm going to have to do it kind of propped up. So anyway, these are the screws I was talking about. This will allow me to pick this up and then get to the inside. And there is one ground here. Bottom, I need a smaller screwdriver. It's kind of bent. There we go. I'll just pull that off. So what I need to do is, here's the spindle. Where's it? Here's the spindle. There's a screw on the side here, I believe, but I'm going to have to pull this out because it is so, in there so tight. and it is locked. I'm really going to be best served by removing this because I'm probably going to have to use some heat to free the spindle from the housing. And I'll explain to you, show you what I'm talking about here. So here's the spindle. There's a screw right here. It looks a little chewed up. I'm gonna hope it's not stripped, but I am hoping. Yep, I'm able to remove that pretty easily. So there's the little screw that comes out of the side. And that is absolutely locked in there. I cannot, it doesn't budge at all. So what I typically need to do in this situation is put some heat on this portion. So I'm going to get my heat gun out. I'm going to do that off camera because it's literally just going to be me applying heat to this. I'm going to lock it in my vise, try to protect the shaft as much as I can. So it's locked in pretty good. So I'm going to use that. The heat gun off camera, get this heated up, and then I'll come back and let you know how it went. All right, so that worked pretty well. Straighten out my camera here a little bit. I still have not purchased a new mount for this setup I have here. I'm gonna have to do that one of these days. So that it took about 30 seconds. It's still a little bit warm. Took about 30 seconds of heat, and I was able to pop that right off. So what I'm gonna do now is just take a little bit of alcohol, and I need to clean. I'm just gonna douse this with a little bit for right now. Let that kind of soak in there. And what I want to do is get all of this old grease off of here. Take my time doing that because that stuff's pretty sticky. I know it's kind of boring, but and occasionally if I have some residue that just won't come off, I'll take a little brass brush, kind of knock it off of there, but this one seems to be cleaning up okay. I believe there's a bearing in the bottom. Let's see. I do see the bearing, so that's good. And then in terms of cleaning up the spindle housing, it's just a matter of, you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, you've seen this. If you've watched any turntable service video, you've seen this. And basically I'll just keep cleaning this until this comes out clean. Now, what to use to lube this, I mean, I can go into the service manual and see what they used. It was a grease. So typically if I see grease, if I'm removing grease, I have used oil in the past, but if I see grease in here, I'll use grease. So this one, I'll probably use a little bit of lithium grease. I might use oil, I don't know. But this thing was not moving at all, so. I think one more and I should be pretty good to go. Let's see how clean this comes out. Yeah. That's getting there. Maybe one more little shot of alcohol in there and we'll see what that does. Now, when you're working on this, when you're cleaning it, as I mentioned, there's a bearing in there. At least it looks like it's a free bearing in there. So if you were to dump this over, the bearing comes out. There's the bearing right there. Wouldn't hurt to clean that up a little bit. I keep, just in case, I have some bearings here that I like to keep on hand. So that's back in to the shaft. I think that's going to be clean enough. All right, so let's use, so normally things that slide get grease, things that rotate get oil. So I'm going to opt to put some oil on this instead of lithium grease. I'm going to drop some down into the tube, and I'm using a synthetic, basically this is a synthetic motor oil. It's called real butter, and I'm using it until I use it up. So there's nothing magical about this product. I just happen to have it. And when I looked it up, it's almost like it's like a synthetic motor oil, so it'll work on this. And then put that back down in there. That feels so much better. Put the screw back in, like so. Now, there we go. Cool. That screw, I don't know if that screw is actually the right screw for this or not. Okay, so it's tight. Oh yeah, it moves. It moves freely. Okay. Alright, so now, let's see if I can pull this up. Reposition this. Tighten this back down. These turntables are great. They're real simple. They're entry level, but they're pretty bulletproof. I mean, typically there's not a lot that will go wrong with these. Knock on vinyl wrapped wood. Right, so it's nice and loose. I will just tighten these a little bit. Okay, so there we go there. Now, put the platter back on and let's see what the speed is doing. The only thing that stinks about these is adjusting the speed is pretty difficult. There are no adjustments. Right? Now I see that there's belt residue and I see that the spindle here is dirty. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of alcohol and sometimes I'll take, again, a little brass brush because this feels like it might be resistant to coming off there. I don't know if you can hear it. It's thumping. Yeah, this is not going to come off easily. So what I will do instead is I just had my brass brush. I guess I can use this one. This is stainless. This will be all right. Just kind of knock that crap off of there. I may have to use sandpaper. And there's like a chunk of something at the top. And it is definitely, in terms of speed, it's really important to have this as clean as possible. So I'm going to take just a little bit. This is 600 grit sandpaper. I'm going to take a little teeny tiny pass on this, just enough to clean it up a little bit. All right. And you can also adjust the speed this way. You can make this spindle, you can change the diameter to make it run more slowly. Right? The thinner this is, the slower it is, the fatter it is, the faster it is. And if you ever get one that's too slow, you can take some clear fingernail polish and put it on there and increase the diameter, and that will increase the speed. So let's see how the speed is on this. 34.09. Yep. which is it's common on these tables. I don't understand. And again, this is a belt I bought off eBay, but it feels really tight on here. So I do have some other ones. I'm gonna try a couple. I'm gonna see if I can find one that'll get the speed dialed in a little bit better. So I will be back. I'm gonna go through a couple belts, see if I find one that matches this. All right, so had to take a little bit off of that spindle to get the speed right. Couldn't find a belt that, and again, both the 12 and the 15, I had to do the same thing to those. So I got it to 33.5. That's probably as good as I'm going to get it. 45. I haven't looked at 45, but I'll do the same with that. I'll just test it right now and see where it's at. Yeah, it's 46.06. So I'm going to have to do the same thing with 45. I'm not going to do that right this minute, though. I will do that here when I'm done. But I wanted to show you that we have at least 33 dialed in. So now it's time for the sound check. And to do that, though, I'm going to need to put a cartridge on here. And I think I've got a couple of Audio Technica. Well, I'll use air quotes, Audio Technica. I have no idea if that's what they actually are. That's how they're branded when I buy them on eBay. You know, you don't know if you're getting something that's authentic or not. It doesn't say Audio Technica on it. Oh, I guess this one does. I had a batch of them where it looked just like this. I mean, they sounded great. They performed fantastic. But this one is actually has Audio Technica, at least on the stylus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed through installing the new cartridge. The one on here says Sonus. So I'll have to check that out. I'm not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with Sonus. I mean, Sonus was Sonus Farber, I think, but I'm not sure if this is affiliated with that. I don't know if this is a super cheap or a super expensive cart. It says Sonus, made in USA. Oh, no, Sonic. It's not Sonus, it's Sonic. It's Sonic, but this says, it's Sonic, but this says Sonus. Not that it matters. It's coming off. But let me get to installing this. All right, so that is set for 2.5 grams. So just turn the stereo on. I don't hear any ground hum. I may have to add a weight because that weight is pushed all the way to the front. And these run at 2.5, and that's as far as I can take it. So I have little, where are they at? I have a couple little, like 1 gram weight. Right. So I'm gonna use one. I think that's just a spacer. But that one's a weight. I may put that on there. I don't know. We'll see how this performs. So anyway, let's give it a run. So this is 2.5. Up. Come over. That looks about right. And I have music out of both channels. Sounds good? I do want to check, however, the weight with my scale because it looks like it's riding a little bit low. And this is just one of my test records, so this might be just a little bit heavy. Yeah, 2.6. I mean, I think you can run these up to like 3, but I think I'm going to put that little weight in there just to get that set right. So I will come back when I've put the weight in here. I will adjust tracking, and then we'll talk about what else we're going to do to this thing. All right, so I use this alignment tool to make sure I aligned the cartridge in the head shell. Pioneer also uses like a millimeter measurement. I mean, I could have gone inside and measured it on the little scale that I use, but you know, it's aligned. So. Okay, so we got the turntable working, tested it. We have sound. I think all that I have left to do is kind of clean this thing up. And let me set that. Now this is a vinyl wrapped plinth, so I won't be doing anything other than just cleaning it off with like a Clorox wipe. The dust cover was in good enough shape to where I think I'm just going to clean it. I mean, I could buff it. I don't think I'll do it much with it if I buff it, but maybe I will. But anyway, let me get to cleaning this up, and then I'll let you know what I did with the dust cover. All right, I opted to buff this out real quick. Again, I didn't think it was going to do much because this one is actually in pretty good shape. Slide that up a little bit. There we go. So there is the Pioneer PL10. Not a whole lot to this one, but a nice little turntable. These are great entry-level turntables. Getting into vintage. They're typically at a really good price, you know, around $200. Well, actually, no, they're a little bit more than that. Probably between $250 and $300. I normally see these. Now you can buy them on eBay cheaper than that, but the shops usually sell these for around the $250 price range. So anyway, I'm going to call the Pioneer PL10 done. So this one was an easy one. Thank goodness. All right. So as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.